I never believed life could split in two, before and after, until the morning I opened the letter. That ruined my definition of family. It arrived in a cream envelope, without a return address, pressed neatly between bills and supermarket flyers. My name, Emily Rowan, was written in elegant cursive, the kind of handwriting people used when they meant every word. I almost threw it away, thinking it was another wedding invitation from a distant cousin, until I noticed the faint red wax seal on the back, the shape of a small rose. That rose used to belong to my mother. For a second I couldn't breathe. It had been 13 years since I'd seen her, 13 years. Since the night my parents left me with a neighbor and vanished. I told myself they were dead because death was easier to grieve than abandonment. But now, standing in my apartment kitchen with a letter that looked like it came from her, I felt the old wound tear open. I didn't open it right away. Instead, I brewed coffee I didn't drink and stared out the window at the gray Chicago morning, trying to decide if I even wanted answers anymore. Closure is a seductive lie. We think it will heal us. But sometimes the truth is poison dressed as peace. By 9 a.m. curiosity won. I slit the envelope carefully. Inside was a single folded page and a photograph. The photo came first. My parents smiling, one younger, standing in front of a large brick house I didn't recognize. They looked proud, happy. Even, my father's arm was around my mother's waist. Her head rested on his shoulder. Behind them on the porch stood an elderly woman in a wheelchair, holding a cane carved with the same rose pattern as the wax seal. My grandmother. She had died the same year they disappeared. The note beneath the photo read, "Emily, if you are reading this, then the lies are finally catching up to us. Your father and I did what we had to do, even if you never forgive us. Please go to the house in the photo. The truth is hidden there, and it belongs to you now. Mom." No address. No apology. Just a ghost trail. I almost laughed bitterly. After all these years, my mother's first words to me weren't "I'm sorry" or "I missed you," but an invitation to chase another secret. But the photo had something else. A street sign, barely visible in the corner. Hollow Creek Road. I searched online. There was exactly one Hollow Creek Road in the state. 3 hours north in a small town called Maple Hollow. I should have ignored it. Instead, I packed an overnight bag, canceled my weekend plans, and hit the highway. The road to Maple Hollow cut through endless fields and half-dead trees, the kind that looked like they'd been holding their breath for decades. The farther I drove, the weaker my phone signal became, until the GPS arrow just froze. Classic. My mother always had a flair for dramatic inconvenience. I arrived around sunset. The town was the kind of place where time got stuck in the 90s. Brick storefronts, a single diner, faded Christmas lights still hanging from lampposts. And there at the edge of town stood the house from the photograph. 2 stories of decaying brick and ivy with a crooked mailbox that read Rowan. My last name. My family name. The front gate creaked like it was sighing. The path was overgrown, but the porch light flickered weakly as if it had been expecting me. I tried the door. It opened. The smell hit first. Old wood, dust, and faint lavender, my grandmother's favorite scent. The furniture was covered in sheets, yet everything felt strangely preserved, like someone had left in a hurry but planned to return. On the mantel sat a row of framed photos. My parents at their wedding. My grandmother younger, standing beside a man I didn't know. And then one of me, maybe 8 years old, missing a tooth, holding a birthday cake with 7 candles. The photo shouldn't exist. That birthday had ended with my father shouting and my mother crying. How could it look so happy here? Then I saw the small metal box beside the frames. a lockbox engraved with the same rose symbol. Inside was a folded deed to the house, and another letter addressed to Margaret Rowan, my grandmother. I unfolded it. Mother, we can't do this anymore. The debt collectors won't leave us alone, and they've started asking about Emily. Please understand we have to disappear until it's safe. Take care of her if you can. We'll come back when it's over. Love, Sarah. So they'd left me because of money? That was the story I believed for years. But something didn't fit. There were no bank notices, no foreclosure signs, nothing in the house suggesting desperation. Only preservation, like someone had wanted to freeze a moment in time. And then the floor creaked behind me. Looking for something? A male voice, rough but calm. I turned. A man in his 50s stood at the doorway, holding a toolbox. His eyes flicked from me to the photo in my hand. You must be Emily, he said slowly. I am, I answered, wary. Who are you? Name's Walter. I used to work for your grandmother. Been checking on this place since she passed. How did you know I'd come? He shrugged. She said you would someday. Told me to give you something when you did. He reached into his coat and handed me a small weathered key. That night I stayed in the house. Couldn't explain why, it just felt like if I left, the truth would vanish again. I lit a candle because the electricity was unreliable, and sat by the fireplace with the key turning over in my palm. It was brass, marked with the number 17. Room 17. But there were only 6 rooms upstairs. At midnight I heard the faintest sound. A click like a lock unlatching, somewhere near the back hallway. When I followed it, I found a narrow door behind the old piano. A servant's staircase spiraled down into darkness. And there at the bottom, a heavy door with a brass plaque 17. Inside I found boxes of papers, old photos, and a single file marked confidential, estate of Margaret Rowan. I opened it, expecting financial records. What I found instead made my legs go weak. It was a birth certificate. Not mine. Someone named Lila Rowan. Mother, Sarah Rowan. Father, unknown. Date of birth, same as mine. The name Lila Rowan sat on the page like a shadow I'd been living under my whole life. Same date of birth. Same mother. Different name. I ran my fingers over the paper, feeling the ridges of the old typewriter ink. My mother had only ever called me Emily. Who was Lila? In the flicker of candlelight, the room seemed to breathe with me. Walls groaning, dust whispering through the air. A thought began to form, wild and uninvited. What if I wasn't their only child? I searched the boxes stacked against the wall. Receipts, letters, an old journal bound in cracked leather. Inside the journal were entries written in my grandmother's precise, slanted handwriting. June 14th. Sarah came home from the hospital today. She's frightened. I promised to protect the baby no matter what happens. June 15th, they said it was a stillbirth on the record. That was the only way to keep her safe. My breath caught. Stillbirth. Safe from whom? I flipped pages desperately. June 30th, Walter is loyal. He agreed to keep the secret until the girl is grown. Walter. The handyman. The man who'd handed me the key. My knees felt weak. I stumbled back, clutching the journal. Everything spun, the candlelight, the walls, my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I wasn't abandoned because of debt. I was hidden. I found Walter outside at dawn, fixing the gate like nothing had changed in the world. Who's Lila? I demanded. He froze, wrench in midair. You found the room, he said quietly. Margaret told me you would. Was she my sister? He looked down. You should sit. I don't want to sit. My voice cracked. Just tell me the truth. Walter sighed. Lila Rowan was you, Emily. That was your name at birth. The world narrowed to a ringing in my ears. You were born into a war your parents started. They lied about a stillbirth, changed your name, and vanished so no one could trace you. Margaret filed a false death certificate to keep you off certain records. What records? He hesitated. Your father owed money to the wrong people. Not gamblers, corporate. He'd stolen proprietary tech from his company. When the FBI started digging, he panicked. If they found out he had a child, you could be used against him. So they killed Lila and created Emily. He nodded sadly. Your grandmother agreed because she thought it would save your life. I wanted to scream, but only a small sound escaped, something between a sob and a laugh. For years I'd hated them for leaving. Now I hated them for staying alive. I wandered back inside. Morning light spilled across the floorboards. Every memory I had, birthdays, bedtime stories, family photos, felt counterfeit. That's when I saw another envelope tucked behind the mantel clock. Different handwriting, my father's. It was sealed but brittle, like a confession that had waited too long. Emily, or Lila, if you found the truth, I don't expect forgiveness. I only want you to understand why we ran. Your mother made me promise never to tell you about the project. People died because of it. If you're reading this, it means the danger is over, but the shame isn't. The proof is buried under the floorboards in room 17. Burn it after you read it. Dad. I stared at the letter, then down at the floorboards. One plank near the corner looked newer. I pried it open with a screwdriver from Walter's box. Inside was a metal case. It wasn't money or gold. It was data drives, labeled Rowan Industries Prototype AF. Whatever they'd stolen, it was valuable enough to destroy a family. That night I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the old house sounded like footsteps. Every gust of wind like a whisper calling my name. I sat by the window watching the road, half expecting headlights to appear. Instead, around 2 a.m. my phone buzzed. A private number. No one should have had my new number except my employer and a few friends. I answered. Emily, a woman's voice said. Calm, familiar, dangerous. You found the house. My chest tightened. Who is this? A pause. Then, it's Mom. I froze. The line crackled softly. Don't hang up, she said. I know you're angry, but please listen. I swallowed hard. Where have you been for 13 years? Running. Surviving. We wanted to come back, but we couldn't. They were watching. Who? Silence. Then she whispered, Your father isn't the man you think he is. Before I could reply, the call cut off. I stared at the phone screen, the number already disappearing as if it had never existed. By morning I'd made a decision. I was done being the scared girl everyone lied to. I packed the metal case and the letters into a bag, locked the house, and headed for the nearest police station. But halfway there, a black SUV pulled onto the road behind me. Close. Too close. I sped up. So did they. By the time I reached the gas station, my hands were shaking. I parked fast, ran inside, and hid between aisles of motor oil. Through the window I saw two men get out of the SUV. Suits, dark glasses. They looked around, speaking into earpieces. They weren't debt collectors. They looked federal. My father's letter echoed in my head. People died because of it. When they left, I returned to my car and found a folded note under the wiper. If you value your life, don't go to the police. We need to meet. Yes. My mother again. How did she know where I was? I felt trapped between ghosts and predators. The only safe place I could think of was the one she'd abandoned, our old family cabin near Lake Willow. Maybe there I'd find the rest of the truth. Or the people who'd spent 13 years trying to bury it. I started the engine and drove toward the lake, the sunrise bleeding through the fog like a warning. The drive to Lake Willow felt endless. Pines closed in on both sides of the road, tall and silent, their shadows turning the asphalt into a tunnel. The farther I went, the older the world felt. No billboards, no gas stations, not even a phone signal. Just the hum of the tires and the echo of my mother's voice. Your father isn't the man you think he is. By the time I reached the cabin, dusk had settled. It looked smaller than I remembered. Weather-beaten logs, moss creeping up the porch posts, shutters hanging crooked. Yet it smelled the same. Pine resin, lake water, the faint trace of smoke soaked into the wood. I stood at the threshold for a long minute before turning the key. The lock clicked like it was exhaling after years of holding its breath. Inside, dust floated through slants of dying light. The kitchen table still had the burn mark from when I'd spilled soup at age 10. Someone had been here recently. A mug sat in the sink damp. My pulse quickened. "Mom," I whispered. No answer. Only the slow tick of the old wall clock. I set the metal case on the table and unzipped my bag. Letters, the birth certificate, the journal, all of it looked smaller than the chaos inside my head. I told myself I'd stay one night, read everything again, decide what to do at dawn. That plan lasted 15 minutes. A floorboard creaked. I spun around. A figure stepped from the shadows at the back door. Tall, thin, wrapped in a hooded coat. The light caught a face I hadn't seen since I was 14. Mom. Her eyes glistened, older, tired but unmistakably hers. She looked like someone who'd lived in a storm for a decade. "Emily," she said softly. "You came." I wanted to run to her, to hold her, but I couldn't move. Anger anchored me. "You left me," I said. My voice cracked, betraying the child still hiding inside. "Why?" She looked at the floor. "Because if we stayed, you wouldn't have lived." "Then why am I still breathing? And Dad's letter says people died?" She flinched. "He told you that?" "I found everything, Mom. The drives, the fake birth certificate, the lies. Tell me what you were running from." She walked past me, brushed her fingers across the dusty counter, then turned. "We weren't running from debt collectors, Emily. We were running from your grandfather's company." "My grandfather's? I thought he died before I was born." "He did," she said, "but his partners didn't. Rowan Industries wasn't just a furniture business like we told you. They developed security tech, military-grade algorithms. Your father discovered that your grandfather's death wasn't an accident. He tried to expose them. They silenced anyone who knew, including him." I shook my head. "Then why fake my death?" "They threatened to take you. To make sure Daniel cooperated." Her voice trembled. "I signed the papers myself. Margaret helped hide you. You became Emily Rowan, the girl no one was looking for." Thunder rolled outside, low and distant. The candle on the table flickered. "So Dad stole those drives to prove it?" I asked. She nodded. "Proof of what Rowan Industries really did, illegal surveillance software sold to foreign bidders. He thought if he hid the evidence until it was safe, we could come back. But he never got the chance." My stomach twisted. "He's dead." Tears welled in her eyes. "They found him 2 years after we disappeared. Car accident, the news said. But the car had no brakes." The room blurred. I pressed a hand to the table to steady myself. "You should have told me." "I wanted to," she whispered. "But you were a child." And later shame kept me silent. "Every birthday, I wrote you letters I never sent." She pulled a small tin box from her coat and placed it beside the candle. Inside were envelopes, 12 of them, each labeled with a year. I touched the top one. 15. My 15th birthday. The year I cried myself to sleep believing they were both dead. "You kept these all this time?" I asked. "I kept you alive," she said. The letters were the only proof I still existed. A branch scraped against the window. My mother looked toward the sound and went pale. "They found us," she whispered. "Who?" Headlights washed across the curtains. 2 vehicles. Engines idling. My mother grabbed my wrist. "Downstairs. Now." We slipped through the back hallway, down a narrow staircase into the root cellar. Dust choked the air. Above us, boots pounded on the porch. Through the floorboards we heard a voice, male, firm, official. "Sarah Rowan. This is Special Agent Miller with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We know you're here. We're not here to hurt you." We just want the drives. My mother's grip tightened. They don't care about the truth, Emily. They want to erase it. I whispered. Then we run. She shook her head. Not this time. Boots thudded overhead. Dust rained from the rafters. My mother motioned for silence and pressed a finger to her lips. The faint beam of a flashlight slipped through the cracks in the floorboards, cutting across her face. They're sweeping the place, she breathed. I could hear the agent speaking in clipped tones above us. Check every room. She's armed and possibly in possession of federal property. Federal property. The drives. My mother leaned close. They'll tear this cabin apart. We have maybe 3 minutes. Then what? She took out her phone burner-style crack screen. She typed fast, muttering, Walter. 911 fallback house compromised. Walter. I whispered. He's not just a handyman, she said. He's the last person who still believes your father was innocent. The trapdoor above us creaked. A beam of light speared the darkness. Basement's clear, a voice called. They were standing right above our heads. My mother motioned toward a narrow tunnel in the corner, half hidden behind stacked crates. Old escape route. Leads to the lake. We crawled in just as the trapdoor groaned open. Before I could stop her, she gunned the throttle and steered straight toward the oncoming boat. I hit the water. It was glacial, stealing my breath. I kicked hard, clutching the drive in my fist, the shouts and engines fading behind me. When I finally crawled onto the far shore, my muscles burned. I looked back across the lake. 2 boats collided in the fog. A burst of orange fire reflected on the water. Then silence. Mom! The word tore out of me, small and useless. The flash drive was still in my hand, warm from my skin. Somewhere deep inside, something told me she wanted it that way. I stumbled through the woods until I reached a dirt road. A single truck was parked there, rusty blue engine idling. Walter sat behind the wheel. Get in, he said. I did. She told you to find me, didn't she? I asked. He nodded, face grim. We don't have much time. There's someone we need to see, your father's old partner. He's the one who started this mess. I looked back toward the lake one last time. The fog had swallowed everything. Then let's finish it, I whispered. The highway out of Maple Hollow looked endless under the dawn light. I sat beside Walter in silence, my clothes still damp from the lake. The heater blew lukewarm air that smelled of oil and pine. She's gone, I said finally. He gripped the steering wheel tighter. Don't be sure of that yet. Walter, I saw the explosion. He kept his eyes on the road. I've seen worse and lived. So has she. Your mother's a survivor. I didn't answer. I just stared at the flash drive in my palm, the last heartbeat of my family's secret. 2 hours later, we pulled into a lonely service station on the outskirts of a dead-looking town. A faded sign read Harrington's Repairs. Walter killed the engine. Inside, he said. His name's Mark Harrington. He and your father built the original software together. The building smelled of motor oil and dust. At the back, a man in his 60s hunched over a desk cluttered with circuit boards. He looked up slowly, his face drawn but his eyes alert. Walter, he said. Didn't think I'd ever see you again. Then his gaze shifted to me. And this must be Lila. My stomach dropped. He knew. My name is Emily Rowan, I said. Sure it is, he murmured. He wiped his hands on a rag. I suppose Sarah finally told you the truth. I stepped closer. You were my father's partner? He nodded. We built the prototype together, Sentinel. It was meant to be a defense system, something to protect national infrastructure. But Rowan Industries twisted it into something else, mass data harvesting. Your father tried to expose them. I helped bury it. Walter's jaw clenched. You sold him out. Mark didn't deny it. He believed too much in justice. I believed in survival. I held up the flash drive. This has proof. He stared at it like it was a relic from another life. You don't understand what that proof will cost. If you release it, every politician tied to that system goes down. They won't let that happen. You'll vanish like your father. I took a breath. Then tell me, was he killed because of you? Mark looked away. Yes. The word hung in the air, heavy as a hammer. He came to me that night, Mark said quietly. He was scared. He said he'd hidden a backup drive in the cabin. I called the wrong people. By the time I realized they wanted him dead, it was too late. I wanted to hit him, scream why? But all that came out was a whisper. You destroyed everything. He reached into a drawer and pulled out an envelope. Your father left this for you. He made me promise to give it to you if you ever found me. Inside was a photograph. My parents and me at the lake, sunlight in our hair, peace frozen in time. On the back, a single line in my father's handwriting. The truth will set you free, but first it will break you. Outside, sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Walter peeked through the blinds. They found us. Mark sighed. I can buy you 10 minutes. He opened a panel behind the desk, a maintenance shaft leading to the alley. Go. What about you? I asked. He smiled sadly. I owe your father that much. We climbed through as the first black SUV screeched into the lot. Gunfire cracked behind us. Walter dragged me into the street and down an old stairwell that led into the subway tunnels. The echo of bullets faded as darkness swallowed us. We walked for what felt like hours, following the hum of underground cables until daylight spilled through a grate above. We emerged near the river, city skyline burning gold in the morning sun. I sank to the pavement, shaking. Walter crouched beside me. You've got a choice now, he said. Run and live quiet or finish it. I looked at the flash drive, tiny but infinite. Then at the horizon. I'm tired of running. The city was just waking when we reached the bridge. Buses hissed past, commuters buried in phones, no one noticing the woman sitting on the curb holding the evidence that could burn half the government. Walter stood beside me, scanning the skyline. Once this goes public, there's no going back. I know, I said. But people died trying to keep this quiet. My father, maybe my mother. If I hide it now, they win. He handed me a phone. There's a journalist who owes me a favor. Secure drop. Once you upload, it's out of everyone's hands. I opened the encrypted site, attached the file, and hit send. Progress bar 10%, 30%, 60%. A siren wailed somewhere far away. My hands shook. 100%. Sent. For a moment the world was silent. Then my phone buzzed. Received. Verifying source. Walter exhaled. It's done. I stared at the water below, sunlight turning it to molten gold. Then why doesn't it feel like victory? He gave a small, tired smile. Because truth never feels like victory. It feels like loss. 2 days later, headlines exploded. Whistleblower data exposes decade-long surveillance program. Names. Dates. Rowan Industries dismantled overnight. Arrests. Protests. Reporters called me the hidden heiress. They wanted interviews, photos, tears on camera. I said no to all of them. The truth didn't belong to me anymore. It belonged to everyone who had been watched without knowing it. That night, as I sat alone in a cheap motel, an email arrived from an unknown address. No subject. One line. I'm alive. Keep running until it's safe. Mom. I didn't know if it was really her. But hope has a sound. It's the quiet inhale before you start over. Months passed. I moved west, changed my name again, this time by choice. Sometimes, in small towns, I see a woman with the same eyes as mine buying coffee and I think it might be her. I never ask. Some truths are meant to stay unfinished. On cold nights I read my father's line again. The truth always finds its way to the surface, even when buried under years of lies. Sometimes the people who hurt you were trying to protect you, but protection built on secrets destroys trust, not danger. The story teaches that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself from the chains of someone else's guilt. In the end, facing the truth may break you, but it also rebuilds you stronger, wiser, and finally free. Truth hurts, but lies kill slowly. It's better to face painful truth than live in comforting lies.